You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. We are coming back to you live from taking a week off. That's right, guys. Everybody saw like a best of last week. No, not this week. You're getting all of us. Every bit of us live here in the Red Moon Studios. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean,
Sebastian, and
Keith Cheatham. I used to like brand. I was like brand, and I immediately thought bran flakes. It's like Brandon's just bran flakes.
I'm Bran Flakes.
no
I'll take
bran
that.
flakes for you.
No Bran Flakes.
the flake of the bran.
Could you do that one more time for the camera?
The flake of bran.
We got to come up with. I miss the days where we had
It's like-
names for your characters. Where's Brian been? What's he been
Next
doing?
door.
Oh, gosh, what's he been doing on vacay?
He's been in the drunk
Well,
tank.
I guess it's not vacay. It's quarantine.
He's been in the drunk tank for like 5 months. 'cause,
Oh.
He won't social distance.
You know, we
so
got breaking
He
news.
said, Brian, I don't social distance. So,
What is it?
That's true. Breaking news. That's right. Since we've been off, since we did not have a live show last week, the fact of the matter is that guess what, guys? There is no more COVID.
Yeah.
It's done.
It's
the
gone?
world's cured. There's no more
now,
coronavirus.
I think
Everything's
that's-
open back up. Everybody is healthy as a little ark.
I think that's fake news.
I don't know what you're talking about. Then
I saw it on CNN.
Yeah.
It's got to be real.
then it's definitely real. Because if that was fake news, well then we'd be pulled off the internet. Okay, we'd be banned. So nobody has to worry about anything.
No.
In fact, you don't even have to watch this show. Go out and play. Okay.
Go out and play.
I still. So you. It's. I don't know.
What?
I don't know.
What?
You're
What are you gonna
telling
say?
me
Well, that's good.
that
You got a nice
That-
frosty beverage over there.
CNN is or isn't fake news?
I don't know. I'm not going to be the person who calls out the fake news network. Okay. Oh, that's.
You can't handle the truth.
I don't know where you're going with that. But we actually do have
true.
breaking news this week.
Yeah.
In fact, so breaking that no, we did not make a lower third or a full screen. But we do
It
have
just happened.
We have a web page that we'll pull up during the show when we get to that part.
It's amazing.
It's kind of crazy. Was not
What you can do with technology.
Check.
just insane in general what the news is all about. Kind of groundbreaking and something unexpected that I don't think any of us saw coming. Especially with should I just go and tell them?
Oh, we can wait. We still got to.
Yeah, let's wait.
Because here's
Let's
like
wait.
you mentioned groundbreaking, but you know what's not groundbreaking?
Another Best Picture
The
winner.
Best Picture movie we're about to review. Yeah.
No.
And that was my biggest problem with it is that it was so just blah. But I mean, we'll go ahead and pull the review up and listen to it, and we'll discuss it. It's 1942, and the 14th Academy Award winners are about to be announced. With over a decade of movie making under Hollywood's belt, some of the most iconic and revolutionary filmmakers of the era have begun truly innovating filmmaking. With the likes of Hitchcock and Capra in full swing, classics such as The Maltese Falcon nominated, animated films now mainstream due to the brilliance of Walt Disney, and Citizen Kane, one of the few films that can contend with Gone with the Wind as greatest film ever made, also nominated, this year, more than ever, showcases the rapid growth of Hollywood, but also the questionable voting of Best Picture winner by the Academy. Winning the 14th Best Picture award was none of the previously mentioned works or filmmakers, but instead John Ford's How Green Was My Valley. Ford, who won his third Best Director Oscar for the film, had previously directed the more critically acclaimed and well-known The Grapes of Wrath, for which he had won his second Best Director award. Carrying much of the same themes and depressing narrative of Grapes of Wrath, How Green Was My Valley is the story of the Morgans, a 19th century Welsh family who made their living as coal miners. The story predominantly follows Hugh, the youngest Morgan's son, played by a young Roddy McDowall, who had become famous for his work in the Planet of the Apes series. The film is narrated by Irving Pitchell, portraying the adult Hugh, and as the movie progresses, it covers the most informative parts of Hugh's young life, as a series of mishaps befalls the Morgans and the town, showcasing the regular struggles of a 19th century mining town. The film is at times melancholy, but predominantly depressing by intention, showcasing the struggles of a working-class family and the horrors that were often common amongst that way of life, climaxing with the collapse of the mine. How these things shaped the man Hugh becomes and his recollection of them, and the Green Valley of simpler times, are the crux of the film. And while done well, it is depressing to get through, something that seemed to become a recurring theme for director John Ford. While the themes and lessons of the common working class are admirable, and the story and characters compelling enough to warrant the film's nomination, showcasing a significant shift in the happy-go-lucky distraction films originally started out as, there's not enough substance in How Green Was My Valley to award it Best Picture over the numerous brilliant works that had also released that year. The story structure is all over the place, establishing Hugh as the main character through narration, but not introducing the character himself until after a lengthy amount of time. The movie jumps from incident to incident with no through line, creating a disjointed story. But by the film's end, it does so well accomplish its message and themes that it's hard not to respect the movie in some way. Also, not up to par with other films of this time is the acting, with moments feeling very theatrical. By this point in filmmaking, we have already seen an evolution of narrative structure and more subdued acting, with films becoming more and more serious. How Green Was My Valley feels like a step backward in both these aspects and doesn't stand the test of time as well as its competition. In a year that nominated The Maltese Falcon, Alfred Hitchcock's Suspicion, Orson Welles' Citizen Kane, and saw Walt Disney win 2 honorary Oscars, it's odd that How Green Was My Valley came out on top. All in all, the movie definitely deserves to be remembered in film history, but doesn't hold up as the best film of 1941. I give How Green Was My Valley 3 out of 4 stars.
Well, we gave it 3 out of 4 stars.
We did.
I'm going to stick with my review of 3 out of 4 stars.
Wow.
But I don't think you all are.
I as I was typing up the review and reading the review, and every time I think of the fact that this was up against The Maltese Falcon, Suspicion by Alfred Hitchcock, and of course the huge one, Citizen Kane by Orson Welles, of course, I'm just thinking, this just really was a huge step back in quality of filmmaking.
Yeah.
Compared to some of the previous winners and compared to what it was up against.
Yep.
And, I mean, it's a very depressing movie, which that part really didn't bother me. In fact, knowing John Ford, who made The Grapes of Wrath, which is also a very depressing movie, I kind of feel like maybe that's just his shtick, is he likes to be depressing.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like, it wasn't the depressing nature of the film. It was just like, it got boring. It drug on. The narrative, was all over the place. And while I appreciated what it did, and it was a very, cinematography-wise, a very beautiful film to watch.
Yes.
I kept coming back to the fact that all these other movies came out that year that are hugely historical
that's kind
movies.
of what shocked me was I was willing to give it the benefit of the doubt early on, because when I've heard nothing but, and I watched it so early I've got to rewatch it again, but when I've heard nothing but amazing things about Citizen Kane and how much of a timeless classic it is.
I do think Citizen Kane's a little bit overrated, but again, it's been so long I haven't seen it that I don't want to completely knock it, but I don't think it's the best movie ever made, but I still think it's definitely better than How Green Was My Valley.
Well, and that was what was interesting to me about this, was as this kind of kept going, I just remembered thinking, at least I was intrigued throughout Citizen Kane and watching it. And I just kept losing. It wasn't that I lost interest in this film. I just felt like there were so many times it shifted its focus that I didn't know what I was supposed to be paying attention to or who I was supposed to be paying attention to. And the story itself just, it got lost in its own, creation. because it starts out with the narration and you're focusing on this boy, and I'm sitting here thinking, oh, okay, well, this is going to be a story about his life growing up in this valley and in this town, and I was kind of interested, especially Keith, you had even mentioned beforehand that this is one of Clint Eastwood's favorite films.
Yeah.
And
He's
even
very fond of this movie.
my parents have raved about this film before, and so I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, I'm ready to kind of.
I think, especially for like an older generation, it kind of, I mean, and to anybody, that's one thing I do like about it is like seeing like the common working man like aspect and like the disasters that they would have faced in 19th century coal miners and all that. Like, there is an aspect of it that is relatable and very like down to earth, like old school like type of like flavor that I think like I could definitely see someone like Clint Eastwood and your parents like. I mean, your parents like. The Waltons, all like they loved the Waltons.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So it's like I definitely could see like that appeal there, but to me it just didn't have enough substance for me to feel like. I do think it deserves a spot in film history. I don't feel like it deserved to be the Best Picture winner though.
Yeah,
and I'm kind of like, even though I gave it 3, I kind of want to walk that back, and I'm feeling more.
No!
I'm feeling like
first ever change
2.5. Like, I mean, I'm only knocking it half a star, but it's one of those things where it's just like it just didn't have like
after
enough
it sat
substance.
for a while, I was like,
kinda... I could see why like people liked it, so I gave it that 3. But after it sat for a while, I was like, yeah, but it just doesn't hold up. Like I was thinking about like aspects of it gave me like this like Little Women vibe, like him like in the ice cold water and losing his legs. It's like. That was a story and a movie that was made like years before this one that like there's an even an aspect of where one of the girls falls into the lake. And there were certain like story beats that I could see from other stuff. And then it gave me this like October Sky vibe.
That's what I got from it.
Yeah.
And I was sitting here like,
he's going to get out.
Yes.
He's going to get out.
And even though October Sky came years later, they did
the story better.
Yeah.
So much better.
Yes.
So I'm just like.
And it doesn't have that ending either. I don't want to spoil it.
No.
It sets you up for failure if you're thinking you're going in for that.
No.
But that was part of the problem is at least October Sky focuses on Homer throughout the whole movie.
Yes.
And you get pieces of who's influenced him in his life.
Yeah.
But in this movie, it takes points away from, I mean, Sean, you brought it up when we were just talking about it off the show, about how even the narration stops about 40 minutes in.
Yeah.
And there's a 40-minute gap where there's nobody talking over the film.
Right. And that's what I thought the whole film was going to be, like a narration, a following of this kid, and it's going to be, because the narration was his older self, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I just kept thinking, well, sooner or later we're going to see him as an adult.
Yes.
And it's like, well, no, we never do. At least we know that he lives.
Yeah.
Working in a mine, but it's still, there's just so many parts of this film that captivated me as far as the choice to keep it black and white and fit that mood and that feel.
Yeah.
It's just dark and
the
kind of dirty.
cinematography was beautiful.
The cinematography was beauty. This is one of those films from the 1940s that actually, whatever they did to bring that as far as the film transfer, it was crystal clear. It was beautiful compared to some of the other ones that were made around the same time that look like garbage now.
Well, and I think this is one that gets a little bit more praise, so it probably is one that
they took care of. Yeah. But I agree completely. I only gave it 2 out of 4, and that was just simply because for the first part of the movie, just like there's a trend with some of these movies for me, the first part of the movie hooks me, and then it just trails off into nothingness.
I was going to say, again, going back to like the Homer Hickam issue, is it's like you again, starting out with the narration of the boy, but then we immediately go to now it's about the father and his 4 older sons. And you're kind of getting an idea of like, okay, this is who he sees being men in his house. But then it goes to, there's a strike at the mine. And
it's actually like basically showing the formation of a union.
Yes.
And I liked that. I thought that was interesting because nowadays you hear about the union, and even when you talk back to the times of like Jimmy Hoffa and that kind of stuff, you already kind of know what it means to have a union.
Yeah.
Right.
But to see these people say, no, we're thinking about forming a union, and to see it kind of come into fruition. And the fact that even back then people were saying, no, you're not going to do that. That's socialism.
Yeah.
And all of that. They used that word twice in the movie.
Yeah.
And that stood out to me. And that gave me great interest in the film a little bit more in the middle. But then where are we going with this union?
Yeah.
It never goes anywhere. Then it becomes about the preacher and the daughter.
You see the kids leave the house,
Yeah.
and there's a sad moment. But then, now all of a sudden it's the kid gets injured with his mom,
Yeah.
and he's bedridden for a while. So
And then
we're
it-
back on the
yeah.
focus with the child.
Then it jumps
and
to
then
the
it jumps
priest
to
and
the
the
priest
daughter,
and the
yeah.
daughter. It's like there's so many different storylines
Yeah.
throughout,
Yeah.
but they never anchored it with the boy,
And my-
except for when they had to feel like I felt like they had to bring it back to him, only because it was like, oh yeah, he's telling
It's
the
his
story.
story.
And it's like, but it just seemed like an afterthought.
And another like problem I had with it, like especially with its narrative jump, is that like the acting was so inconsistent that
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Maureen O'Hara was fine, I thought, but the rest of the actors, like honestly, like, and he wasn't even that good. After Maureen O'Hara, the next best actor was probably that little boy, and even he wasn't great.
Yeah.
And, which I mean,
Was
Rodney
the father Marino?
No, Maureen O'Hara was the daughter.
Okay, because the
priest-
father got me a couple of times,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
at the dinner table when the
Yes.
sons are saying,
Yeah.
when they're voicing their opinions, and he's
letting
trying
them
to
say
tell
it.
them, yeah, but then he's just like, well, get your clothes and go. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because it is like, he doesn't want that,
Right.
And I love even the mom's reaction, because she's playing Mama Bear, and
Yep.
she's like,
Yeah.
don't you let them go out there and do that.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, he's like, I know they're grown men, they have to make this choice on their own. And I loved the dichotomy. I just felt like the story should have been focused on the family, which it was, but because of the so many offshoots that they had told, but they were anchoring it with the perspective of the boy at the very beginning, it just started going off on these trails. I mean, even with the impact of like the story of like the church and how involved it was in the community.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I understand what they're doing. I know the story they're telling, and it was the impact of this whole community on this one boy's life.
Yeah.
And that is kind of the tragic nature of what he tells you at the end is, how green was my valley. I
Right.
grew up in this time, and I cherish so many things from back then.
Yeah.
But yet there is still this sadness of what it became
Yeah.
and what was left behind. But then again, I felt the exact same way. I was like, yeah, that might have been your memory and your experience, and I'm glad you felt that, but it wasn't conveyed in such a way that it impacted
Right.
me the same.
It was better conveyed
So-
than Boyhood.
Yeah.
I would agree.
It
with
makes
that.
me wonder, like, how good is the novel that it was based on? Like,
Yeah.
does the novel
has to be
Jump
read all
around
over?
like that?
Yeah, I mean, if it's a 1,000-page book, then yeah, it has room to do that. But in the time that this film lasted, I didn't feel like it needed all these extra story arcs. I felt like it needed to be, even the description of the movie when I was reading it was basically just, this is the life of this boy and his family in a coal mining town.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, cool. That's something I'm interested in, because I know that kind of lifestyle was both heaven and hell for the people that
Yes.
lived it. And I just wanted to see that. But then I got all these extra just
Like,
filler.
honestly, I even love the parts and the moments where it's like after all this other stuff happens in the town, and then we finally come back to the boy, and then it's like he's got to go off to school, and then
Yeah.
that becomes a whole nother story arc of
yeah,
how
the
he
teacher's
they-
beating him. And
Yeah, and
that was so stupid.
It
It's
was.
like,
Well, it was just random. It
Yes.
was like it became a part of the story where I'm just like,
the people going
Do
to
we
school
need-
and
maybe
teaching him to
this-
box and then beating the teacher. I'm
Yeah.
like, what is
it
going
was
on?
comedic, but it just wasn't needed,
It
or
was,
it would
yeah,
have been.
very
It
random.
would have been useful at the early beginning of
Yeah.
the movie. It would have been good at the start
Yeah.
if we knew the film was focused on him and his coming of age, but it didn't focus enough on his coming of age. It focused on these instances and then tried to use his perspective as like, see, these are what shaped him. And I'm like,
Yeah.
but I don't see that it's shaping him other than the narration.
And, for me, the most emotional part didn't come until the very end, and that's when he's discussing like about the past and like how green was my valley. When he mentions like, men like my father never die; they live on in my memory. And like, I really liked that spiel,
Yeah.
which is kind of like with you. Like, I kind of wish there had been more of that
Father,
narration.
son,
Well,
and-
just
and-
the father,
yeah,
son,
and the
that
narration,
and that
yeah.
because I thought that narration actually was really good, because when he was talking about like men like my father never die and how green was my valley, I was like, man, I'm feeling the emotion now,
Yeah.
but that was absent throughout the rest of the movie.
Yes.
It's like the only time I got any emotion was when the
Too little,
narrator
too late,
was like,
basically.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Sad but true, and such was my valley. That's how green was my valley. 3 out of 4 stars. Now officially 2.5. I'm not going to change it.
That's no, that's,
it's gonna stay
that
there.
is
you can
fine.
note it. You can note
yeah.
it
And-
somewhere.
and-
but-
yeah,
Exactly.
you know,
I
it's
could maybe
like-
note it on our
It's
website.
like this film
Yeah.
just doesn't live up to
our website. What
Yeah.
is that?
Ooh.
Funny you should ask, Sean. Do you know the address?
No.
I'll tell you the address.
Okay.
RedmoonProductions.com.
Wow.
Simple as that, guys.
Do you have to put www?
No. Search Red Moon Productions.
Oh,
and
dot
boom.
com.
man. All
Dot
right.
com. Like
That sounds
Hollywood.com.
good.
Yeah.
Which doesn't exist anymore.
Nope.
It
Neither does Hollywood.
Yeah, true. Well, they haven't
Right.
existed for the last 100 years. We've seen in these Academy Awards.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
I used to
True.
think that like the Academy, like in recent years, have just like the Academy's just dumb. They keep making these voting with these dumb choices.
Yeah.
But now, after having gone from the very beginning, I
I'm
realized
I'm waiting for the glory days.
Yeah.
When's that going to
it's
happen?
like, I was like,
I don't know.
Are
We're
there
sti-
any?
We're in a
Here's the thing.
mess. Apparently, this is not
mean,
the golden age yet.
We're kind of in the golden age,
age.
of
We're
film. No, but I mean, there are great films coming out
Oh,
during
yeah.
this period. The problem is they're not the ones winning. It's
Yeah.
kind of funny to look back and realize that all of the movies that people remember as the greatest movies of that era
Yep.
aren't the ones that won Best Picture.
You think anybody's going to think that about Jumanji: The Next Level?
They're like, man, that movie should have won the Oscar. No, I don't think so. I don't.
I'm just wondering.
I mean,
what classics
They
are coming
tried.
out today
They
that
tried
aren't
to
being
think
winning?
that way about Black Panther.
La
but,
La Land.
You know,
Yep.
who remembers Black Panther?
Uh,
It's okay, but I mean, who?
I like Black Panther.
Really,
I
I know,
do.
but I mean,
It
out of
shouldn't
all
have-
those movies,
it should have been
is that
nominated
the-
for
Yeah.
Academy
a Best
Award.
They
Picture
tried
Best
to
Picture.
make it the one
Yeah.
that you would remember, and it's
Yes.
like, no,
Yeah.
it's not memorable.
Exactly. There are the politics that play behind
Yeah.
the scenes, and it's like you can't fool the viewers, and you can't fool. I mean, we've seen that thankfully with Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't
Over
think
the course
Avatar
of the
should have been
last-
nominated either. But you know,
Hey,
hey,
I'm
it
just
did-
kidding.
for special effects.
special effects, yes.
absolutely.
No, not
Still.
even that.
Still, man,
I
Okay.
can see
I still
him
think
now.
it looks great.
Some of the
That's
special
fine.
effects.
I'm waiting for
Some
the
of them.
4K, James Cameron.
Yeah,
I
well,
want the 4K.
Well, I mean, now the sequels have been pushed back again.
the
so-
sequels will come out before that original comes out in 4K.
that's true.
So never.
It's
Right.
funny because that's one of our topics this week. But
All
should
right.
we talk about the breaking news first?
Well, yeah, I
yeah.
think we teased it. We should
we
probably
definitely
get at it.
we already are like how long are we into the show?
Most
20
of the
minutes
people
in.
that watch
Yeah.
this are
They've
going to be
already
like,
looked
"What
it
are you
up.
even talking about?" But
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
go ahead.
All right,
Go for
guys. So this
Have at it.
came to us. Obviously, we never get breaking news on this show, which is fantastic. Dropped a little bit, probably about hour and a half, 2 hours ago. The fact is I'll pull it up here. Hopefully, I think I still
Well,
have
you
it.
can't say it because the article was written at 1:30 p.m.
Oh, we got an ad for
Pacific
Variety on here, or for Home Depot.
Huh,
But
well,
Hey,
you know,
hey, at least it's Home Depot and not something
it
very
should be
inappropriate.
Lowe's. It
should
should
be
be
Lowe's.
Actually, I
Well,
prefer
I
Home
see if I
Depot.
can. I'm gonna
What?
see if I can
I
zoom in.
love Home Depot.
Are
Really?
you
Yeah.
serious?
Yeah,
I like Lowe's better, but
Yeah.
Home Depot.
Wait till Menards gets here.
Okay,
now
yeah.
Menards.
Yeah.
nobody's
It opens in
arguing
August,
that.
and as soon as Menards
You can
opens
save
up,
big
I'm all
money
over
at
it.
Menards.
Save big
They're not a
money at
sponsor, by the way.
Menards. They're not. We're just always digging
I
and trying
like
to find
Menards.
So what's this headline?
All right, then let's go to it. Here it is. I'm gonna try to zoom in to get around this Home Depot stuff. Oh gosh.
Look
Okay.
at that fancy
Look-
technology.
So
Look at
Universal AMC Theaters forge historic deal allowing theatrical releases to debut on premium video. That is the longest freaking title of an
know.
article
Variety
I've ever
sucks.
had. Gosh
It's like
sakes.
who reads Variety?
All right, so basically,
Can
I'm
I
not-
say one thing real quick?
yeah.
If you,
no,
like,
no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's a little bit off topic, but if you notice that AMC picture in the article, they use that shot of that theater for every AMC.
Yeah.
Every article about AMC is that
It
theater.
must be the theater.
They've got like just a stock image
just-
of AMC,
I just-
and that's
that-
it.
Rebecca Rubin and Brett Lang. That must be the theater down the street from their house.
Yeah,
It has to
because
be.
like every time I see something about AMC, it's like, why is it
I mean,
always that theater?
It definitely looks like it was taken on an iPhone or something.
Yeah,
it's
I'm
like
sure
they
it
just
was.
took a shot real quick and used it for the
Okay,
article.
Probably
But
just a Google
all
photo.
right,
we
so-
digress. The actual story.
Universal Pictures and AMC Theaters have put aside a bitter feud and signed a multi-year agreement, that will allow the studio's films to premiere on premium video on demand within 3 weeks of their theatrical debut.
And that's major.
That is huge.
Yep.
Yeah.
This has been something that has been a point of contention for a lot of theaters just within the COVID craze that's been going on. And the fact of the matter is it's like I don't know. I'm going to open it up for discussion because the truth is this going to be a game changer? I mean, this is a multi-year deal. Is this going to be a game changer for theaters
and shortly,
years to come?
Shortly after Trolls World Tour released and
Yeah.
did so well is when the feud really started because both of them were kind of going back and forth on Twitter and online with comments about, well, you know, you're not going to make it if you break away from this deal.
Well,
and
AMC
we're not
was
gonna
threatening to ban
I
all
know,
Universal
I know. It
films.
was just kind of childish, really,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it seems like all that, you know, back and forth has been straightened out, and it sounds like it's going to be good for both parties involved. So,
But how many times have you seen stuff like that where it's like this huge, like just like the Sony
Spider-Man,
disc,
yes.
it's
Yeah.
like there's this big blow up, and then all of a sudden it works out, and part of me feels like they do that on
purpose to get attention.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
But here's the thing too: is we kind of talked about this. Like, this is something obviously the big studios wanted and the theaters didn't because they thought it was going to drive traffic away.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, which again, we saw this blunder from AMC throughout the course of their PR stunts of the first wave of COVID and the fact that everything was shut down, and it was like, oh no, we got to go out and try to find these funds, and we've got to, we're hurting right now, and oh no, that was all rumor. Actually, we're fine, we're doing good, and that was on the eve of everything reopening. Sure enough, cases rise, theaters back off again. They're not opening up in major cities, so now all these theater chains, AMC, Cinemark, Regal, they're all pushing everything back again. So then they're already in the issue of not opening, not having, most of it has been the studios just saying, hey, we're not releasing movies. And then, of course, if the movies don't release, the theaters have nothing to launch, and they can't open for, maybe for a month or two, they can have movies that are in there that are old classics, but you can't have that for 6 months. You have to have new releases come out. Because otherwise, what is the point in going? And so the big argument here has been they've been saying, like, give us a bone here. We want to release these movies. We want to get them out to people to see them. We don't want to screw you over. But of course, the theater owners were telling us, no. They are trying to screw us over. They are trying to pull our chain, and they don't want us to succeed, and they just want money in their pockets. And yet here this deal is, and it's particularly for the fans, ultimately, but they're going to both make money.
They're both going to make money. That's what I really found interesting, because really Universal could have been, screw you, AMC, we're going straight to on-demand whether you like it or not. They really didn't have to cave in any way. But I feel like because there has been this push to save the theater, Universal's like, well, we'll cut some type of deal. And, of course, AMC's going to jump on that because now they get a cut of the on-demand profit, too.
Yeah.
So they're like, we'll see, look, we worked something out, and the theater's still going to be significant, but you can have your on-demand, too. So it's like they kind of have their cake and eat it, too.
I don't necessarily think – I agree with what you're saying, but I don't think Universal – had all of the power in this situation.
No,
because if their films only show on demand,
they're not going to get
and
as
not
much
in
money.
theaters, they're still not going to make as much money. They're wanting to double dip theater and VOD.
Well, yeah,
and it's only fair that if AMC is going to lose out on some of the theater bucks, then they should get a piece of the pie with VOD.
Well, used to, like, the window was a 90-day window, like, for theaters, and you couldn't put anything on a home market before 90 days.
Well, see, okay, first off, this was agreed upon by the studios and by the theater owners.
Yes.
And it was always the theater owners pushing that because, again, they didn't make any of the money up front.
Yeah.
And it went towards the studios. So then they were being the sticklers here, saying, no, this is how we want to keep it. This is the status quo. We don't want that to change.
Yeah.
But yet, at the same time, all the studios are coming to the table saying, we just want a shorter window. 90 days is ridiculous in the days of streaming.
Yes.
And now we're having to wait way too long before, by the time the movies are out of theaters and truthfully on video on demand, either you've forgotten about it or you loved it so much that you're already buying it day one and you don't have to worry about those people.
Yeah.
But my question about this is why did it take the COVID crisis and the theaters having to keep pushing back there? Because the thing, it shows the studio's power in one sense because they obviously don't have to bring their movies out. And if they don't bring their movies out, then the theaters have nothing to show. So they're still eating out of the hand of the studios.
But at the same time, the studios do. I do agree with Sean in that aspect. Is like when you think of movies like Fast and the Furious and Jurassic World.
Yeah,
those are expensive movies.
Universal wants that blockbuster theater money. Like now, like Trolls. And stuff like that. They're like, yeah, we can release that video on demand and still make a huge chunk of money because kids are going to be just as happy sitting at home watching it. As in fact, parents are probably happier to keep their kids at home watching it than having to take them to the theater.
Because it doesn't cost them $50.
Kids can't watch Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
Or Jurassic World 3,
No.
most of them. So I'm just saying, look at like a movie like Greyhound. Like, has that made its money back?
No.
I'm
I
really
doubt it.
curious. No,
Nothing
not at all.
on Apple TV
So that's
Plus
what I'm saying.
has. It's been abysmal.
It doesn't matter to me how epic the movie. I think Trolls World Tour was a fluke in the sense that it was parents at home with their
But
kids.
we had Scoob. Scoob came
Scoob's
out.
another
same
kids
thing.
movie.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, so yeah, and I agree. It has been the kids' movies that have been predominantly a hit.
Yeah.
But even still, do we think? So
Let's
you
see,
all are
let's
saying,
see the $250 million Jurassic
Blockbusters.
World.
if
the
Jurassic
same
World
thing.
was released or Fast and the Furious was released video on demand, I do think they would still be hits because people would rent them.
Oh, absolutely.
But at the same time, there's going to be the people who absolutely want to see those movies like us in IMAX. So this way, Universal and AMC gets the best of both worlds because the people who really don't care to go to the theater and just want to stay home are going to be happy to be like, oh yeah, now I can rent it at home without having to go to the theater.
Now, other than us who want to go see it in theaters, and we're still going to have to watch it regardless because we have to be up to date.
A case in point.
But even still, would you all, if even the fans that you are, and if say we didn't have the podcast and we didn't have to review these movies, would you all watch it at home, or would you stubbornly wait for it to be in theaters?
It would depend on the movie. Yeah, for something like Fast and the Furious, I don't want to rent that on demand.
No,
The first
I don't
time
want to pay $20 to rent it.
No.
For $20, I better own the damn thing.
Yeah, no,
and
I
that's what I'm
agree.
saying. Parents were willing to pay $20 for Scoob and Trolls
for their
to
kids.
shut their kids up for 48 hours.
Yeah,
true.
They're not going to be willing as willing to pay $20 for another Fast and Furious
and here's
movie.
the thing: Fast and the Furious, I love because it's just eye candy. But my thing is, that's part of the experience is the theater.
It's the theater.
It's
yeah.
like without the theater experience, that's eye candy
Yeah.
that I really don't care as much about. And the thing is, like, for me, I want to go to the theaters. And I see someone like my parents, they'd be just as happy to be able to sit at home and rent it on demand because they don't want to have to go out.
Right.
So for that, like, that's a case in point where like the theaters and Universal would win because they can get the money from people who don't want to go to the theater.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would rather wait until Fast and the Furious came out in theaters than pay it on demand because at this point, you're not going to see Fast and Furious for any of the story elements. So,
And we're talking about 3 weeks. I'm just like, if you can't deal with the fact that the movie's going to be in theaters for 3 freaking weeks, I think it says in the article 17 days is the minimum. I'm like, if you can't wait 17 days to release your movie on video on demand, there's something wrong there. Like, let the theater have their 17 freaking days and then release it, and you'll make twice as much money.
I agree, and I don't think that, honestly, I don't think the theater are arguing that that's not. I mean, they're happy with that, but they want more. They want more days. I think the studios themselves would love to release it right away, but then at the same time, they're also admitting with this that they don't want the theaters to go away because of those blockbusters.
well, I found like
So I feel like my point is I feel like this discussion, and this is kind of the same argument that Sony had about the Spider-Man controversy, it was like deals were underway. Obviously, the story got picked up, and then it got out there in the open, and it was like, hey, you all need to make this deal happen and make fans happy. But my question is why was this not something that they were willing to confront and contend with well before the COVID crisis?
The theaters weren't hurting.
Yeah.
Well, the theaters weren't, but the studios obviously would have.
I just think it was
but
an
it seemed
eye-opener.
like it seemed like the studios were wanting this a long time ago, but the theater owners were obviously so stubborn. They were like, "Hell no, we're not going to the table for that." You all just want a bigger cut of the pie.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, they're forced into this position where they're like, "Well, crap! If we don't do anything, if we don't give them any leeway, they have the movies that we want to show in our theaters. If they don't release them." Then it's going to get to the point where we don't even have money coming in the door. We're gone.
I think part
so
of it.
why did it take them so long to admit that it's like, okay, we need to come to the table and come to some
think
kind
part
of
of it
agreement?
is the fact that like Hollywood is very adverse to change. As much as they promote change, they're very adverse to change anyways. I mean, they always fight everything: color, sound, streaming. So it's one of those things where I think like because of the whole like the idea of the theater and people's always gone to the theater, they've never really, I think, questioned or combated that 90-day window until they realized that how much money they could make going on demand earlier. And when they finally realized, oh, we can make twice as much money if we have it in theaters and on demand, I think it's something that kind of came about. But I mean, the weird thing is because you mentioned the Sony Disney deal, I think the difference between that though too is the fact that AMC and Universal were openly fighting on like Twitter and other stuff. So it's like Sony and Disney were trying to make deals, and then the news got out.
Yeah.
So that got misconstrued. Whereas this
This
time
was
a
they
little
were trying
different
to beat
because
each other in
because
public.
they were they
if
were
Tom
like
Holland would have been on top of this AMC Universal thing,
it would have never happened.
It would have
Yeah.
been taken care of real
But
quick.
yeah, I really just think that like studios I don't think it really occurred to them right off the bat that it's like, why are we waiting 90 days?
Right. No, I mean, I agree, but I just feel like it's sad that it had to get to a position of, because just this week, and this was another one of our headlines before this breaking news, was that you had moviegoers signing a petition to try to save the theaters, and they were trying to get Congress to use some of the stimulus pack money
To save the
go
theater, yeah.
to save the theaters. But yet it's like here they are scrambling, trying to say that, yeah, we need to be saved. And no doubt, I'm a fan of the movie theaters. I don't think it's right what's going on, and it sucks that their business is going to be impacted greatly, and we don't know how that's going to affect for years to come. I mean, that's part of why I think this deal is good, is because I think it also is the studios admitting, hey, yeah, we do need the theaters. We need them for our big blockbusters and to get the word out for those bigger movies.
Yep.
But I also just think it's kind of sad that, it shows you just how fragile the business of theater ownership is.
I just had thought of another question that just occurred to me that I was just like, this makes no sense, because Hollywood is also currently you have your Christopher Nolans and your Steven Spielbergs and all these people who are very much, we have to save the theater, but it's also Hollywood that's preventing theaters from opening because they refuse to release movies until they know certain markets are open. And I'm like, you all are crying, we need to save the theater, but you refuse to
keeping people from coming.
It's but you refuse to release your movies. What are the theaters going to show if you refuse to release your movies?
Of course they're not going to. Yeah, they're going to say for the safety of the people. It's wrong for the theaters to open up.
It's like, how do you save the theater without giving them anything?
Well, and that's honestly
premiere?
that's where I'm kind of like, why are you going to the government, to Congress, to ask for the taxpayers to bail out the theaters when I'm like, Hollywood's got plenty of money.
Yeah.
Why the hell are they not stepping up and trying to save the theater chains?
Yeah.
You're telling me that they can't come up with enough of their millions of dollars? It's like, if you really care about the theater business and the movies that are showing there, you'll put your money where your mouth is.
But they're too busy saving whales.
Well,
and trees.
Other things too. I mean, they've got a homeless problem in L.A.
That's true.
They're not worried about
that.
that. You know how they
the
took
whales.
care of that? They put porta pots at every exit for the homeless people to sleep. I was like, that's how you solve your homeless problem. You just give them porta pots at every.
You give them
They
a
live in
reason
them?
to stay.
They live in them or something?
Well, no.
That's not shelter. That's not helping them.
They just said, we know they're sleeping under the overpasses.
We know they're pooping on the street, so let them poop in a porta pot instead.
Yeah, it's like you can be civilized. You won't lose your humanity.
It's no dignity lost there.
It's like, good job, guys. You really helped the homeless out.
Yeah.
Well, ultimately, look, the thing is, I think there's a huge issue with this whole entire. I mean, one of my big questions tonight before this news broke was going to be just, are the theaters done? I mean, or at least for this year. It's like, are we willing to say, let's pack it up, let's close the doors? There's no hope that the theater chains are going to open up this year, because they keep pushing the date back.
Right.
Even Tenet is now releasing September. And yet that's internationally, or that's here locally.
Yeah.
But internationally, it's going to release other places
we just
beforehand.
found out also Regal has announced that they're opening
Yeah,
their theaters
they
on
have
August
a day
21st.
and date.
And they said we're not stopping this time. We have to open. But my question, kind of rolling even that news back into the AMC thing, is what about other theater chains? Are they going to make the same kind of deal with Universal? Like, how are they? Like I said, Regal, if they open, is that the second biggest, or is
Third.
Cinemark?
I think that's the third.
Cinemark's the second biggest?
Yes.
So it's like, what about Cinemark and Regal? Are they going to strike deals with Universal and other studios to do VOD 3 weeks out? Because otherwise, AMC's they're double dipping because they're getting a cut of the VOD.
Yeah.
But Regal and Cinemark aren't. So how's that affecting?
But they're only double dipping to the extent that I feel like the theaters are open where they are. I mean, it's like AMC in terms of the U.S. is completely shut down.
Yeah.
So it's
but
so
I'm
I mean
saying
they're
all
open
the
overseas.
deal though. So
all
they
the
are
profits
going to be in
from
the
video
US.
on demand.
Yeah.
AMC's getting a cut. How much we don't know, but if it's 10% of the video on demand, that's
huge.
more than making up the
Yeah.
difference of not the movie.
Not
being
being
in theaters
You know,
longer.
maybe-
And I think it'll be in theaters at the same time
Yeah.
that it's VOD.
No
so
doubt
they
next
are
year.
double.
Oh, definitely.
No doubt
Oh,
next
yeah,
year
yeah.
when the theaters
Maybe
are back
not this
open,
year, yeah.
there's no doubt that this is going to be a back-end deal that I think benefits AMC early on. The question is that going to be a continued deal? Because with them saying multi-year,
Yeah.
that's what we don't know right now.
How many years?
How many
Yeah.
years?
At least
'Cause
two.
I couldn't see
Yeah.
Universal signing on to this for many
Many,
years. Or
yeah.
I couldn't see AMC
I have
doing
two
that
thoughts on that.
either.
One, maybe Regal and Cinemark need to threaten to ban Universal films just like AMC
Yeah,
did, so
yeah.
they get a cut. But two, I could see this evolving into more studios and more theater chains. Like, you have this major something that's never been done before between AMC and Universal.
This may be the
and
spark.
when other studios and other theater chains see this, I could see them all trying to like NATO. Like instead of going to the government and asking them to bail them out, I could see NATO now saying, "Well, how about we try to make a deal like this for all theaters?" So. I mean, it would be interesting. I mean, I do think we're going to start to see maybe a more permanent, like, window that's maybe not even 3 weeks. Maybe they change it to a little bit longer or a little bit less, but some shorter window with a on-demand release, like a right after.
No doubt.
I do think this is the start of something.
It's interesting because it's like I think this also is a sign that AMC is hurting the worst.
Oh yeah.
I think this is a sign that they're willing to go to the table right away because
now they said that has
I
been
know they
largely
did.
exaggerated.
Of course they did, but of course now that the truth is that they keep pushing it back.
Right.
I mean, because that's really where it is kind of. Hurting them is in their PR statements because it's like you all keep pushing the date back and saying you're fine financially, but now we know that you're not.
Yeah.
And then you're cutting this kind of deal to kind of save your own ass. And yet at the same time, it's like Regal and Cinemark are not making this deal. They're not at
We
the
haven't
table.
even heard one peep about like them. They've just been like, we're going to open eventually, and that's about it. AMC's like the only one. Granted, I know AMC is the largest chain, but still, they're the only ones you keep constantly hear about like being in threat of going under.
No, I mean it sounds like if they continue to make these kind of deals, they may end up being one of the only left.
Well, and that's what's
they're saving.
I mean,
their
that's what's
butts.
kind of intriguing about this is it's like if Cinemark and Regal don't make the same deal, and maybe they are fine financially, or even if they open up and everything seems to be okay operationally, it's like is AMC? I mean, they're betting on this deal to benefit them in the long run. They may be doing it in the short run to save their tail, but it could end up being grossly exaggerated as to how well this is going to pay off for them.
Yeah.
It could be just keeping them afloat, or it could be something that really heavily pays the bills on the back end when they start opening back up and they have theaters.
I think it's important.
Or movies in the theaters.
It's important to remember too that even though AMC wants to open and Regal is saying August 21st, hands down, we're opening, all of that is still on the table when it comes to the governors. I mean, if they want to shut the city down, or they can shut the whole state down, and these theaters don't have a choice but to stay closed.
And
so
I do think that's played a part. I think it's played a part in them trying to level any accusation that they're just money hungry or make any more of a PR argument,
or even gauge like when they can open because they know that places keep getting shut down. So they're like, well, can we even open?
Because the last thing they want is to be considered part of the problem, and then they're the first people that have a target on their back once they reopen.
Being part of the problem, and also like it costs money to have to reopen, so they don't want to have to reopen and then like in 2 weeks shut back down and lose money again because like they're going to have to like put in the money and effort to get everybody back. And I mean, and that's another thing I thought was interesting about the 3 week window as far as the theaters making money is because those first 3 weeks are when studios make the most money. Like they get the largest percentage of ticket prices the first 3 weeks of a film's opening. Yeah. They get like 90% like the first week, then like 75% the next week, and theaters really don't start making money off movie ticket sales until after that third week. So that's why I thought it was interesting that the 3 week
they're willing
window,
to actually compromise and say that 3 weeks is fine.
Because now AMC is like, we're risking the chance of, we know like most of the money those first 3 weeks are going to the studio anyways. And now we're risking the chance of people not coming in after the 3 weeks because they can rent it at home. But
they're getting the cut.
Yeah.
They're getting the cut after they
But that's probably why they're willing to risk it because they're like, well, if we get a cut of the VOD,
it's working out.
And that's the bigger question about all this is if it pays off, are other theater chains going to join in? And is it going to be a nice compromise between the studios and the theater owners to where it benefits the theater owners and the studios are willing to kind of give them a cut so that the theater owners can stay open, so that they actually have a place to show their big blockbusters. And it's like, I do think it's a nice compromise after all the bickering we've seen, especially between Universal and AMC. I just think it's ridiculous that we've seen this play out in such a way that if you all would have just come to the table and heard each other out instead of just trying to stand your ground as to,
on Twitter.
Yeah, who had the bigger what to play. It's like I feel like this would have been a resolution that could have been reached a long time ago, especially after the success of Trolls. Yeah. And instead of AMC trying to come out and play big man on campus, like we're going to throw our weight around, and it's like if you didn't see the writing on the wall of the effects that this was going to play out even through the summer, you were just remaining hopeful and tossing your weight around without quietly waiting.
Without even having any weight to throw around because they're the ones
that's
that need
exactly.
money.
It's like they're the ones that have been the biggest talkers, and yet they're the ones who are also we've seen in the most trouble.
Yeah.
Whether they like it or not, that's the story that's going around.
Yep.
So I don't know. Time will tell, but I'm.
We've beat this horse.
It intrigues me. It intrigues me.
It is, yeah. It's interesting to see where this is going to go.
It is. All right, guys. Are we ready to move on to our unique weekly segment?
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Well, then let's roll it.
Ooh, spirit fingers
Show me the
going
money.
there.
Show me the money.
Show me the money.
That's right, guys. Our Vices segment this week brought to you by the Home Depot.
Menards.
It would be so great to have a sponsor. I ain't gonna lie.
I know it.
It would.
When
Because it would be
Menards
great to
opens-
come out like that and do that.
When Menards opens in August, I'm going straight there and being like, hey.
Hey, you know
Yeah.
what? You heard about movies?
What happened to your family member that owns the gym? What happened to that, man? You need
You
to
don't
call
own
them.
no Jim. He's like the
Must be
senior
his-
accountant or whatever for him. though.
Well,
yeah.
give him a call, man.
Yeah.
Like, hey,
put in a
hey,
little word.
Hey, we need you to
Hey,
fund us.
here's what we'll do.
When your gym's open.
Yeah. It's like
Actually, I think it's Planet Fitness, but yeah, I believe they're open now.
no, they all are.
Yeah.
They've required that you wear masks.
Yeah, while you're working
And
out.
I don't know how you
And
wear
I don't
a
think-
mask.
I
working
can't
out.
work at
I
work
can't-
sitting
Okay.
at a computer with a mask
Usually,
Yeah.
I'm okay at work with the mask on, but today, I didn't have much sleep last night, so I was really dragging. And there was a moment today where I had to go in the back and
And breathe.
pull my mask because I was like, man, I can't breathe. I'm so tired that I'm sitting here thinking something. And it's I can't imagine being on a treadmill trying to run and being
on. I know it.
It would,
I don't even know.
I'm gonna die.
well, that's what we can do, though. We can provide that great entertainment for why people are running on that treadmill. That's what we can do for
Yeah.
the Red Moon Podcast.
This segment's going to be entertainment.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because you all are going to have to do this segment because I'm still
Push it
thinking,
to the limits.
I'm
You've
still
never pushed
thinking.
anything too far, or pushed it, or did it just so you
I
can
think
see how
I
far you
have,
can
it's
go?
why? Why do we do that?
Because
why
we're
do
men.
we? Yeah. Is it? I mean,
That's
is
why
it a
men
male?
have-
Is it a male
That's why we
thing?
have a lower life expectancy than women because we want to see
We're
how
more
far
risk averse.
because we're willing to
We're not
jump out of
risk-averse,
planes.
we're-
Yeah,
We're
and
more
jump off
riskier.
of rocks
Yeah.
into the
Tonight,
lake.
tonight, we ate a freaking
I'd-
scorching hot pepper.
I'd never heard of a black pearl before, but Brian's like, you should try this. It's really hot.
right,
And I was
we
like,
tried one of
"Let's
these
do it."
peppers over at our neighbor Brian's house,
And I eat a lot of hot stuff.
and I mean,
And
Jesus.
most peppers, they don't hit you right away. It's kind of a slow build. I put this thing in my mouth. As soon as I crunched into it, immediate heat.
Pow.
And I was
Boom.
like,
Pow!
pow! Yeah,
Bam!
Did he say pow?
Did he say pow? Catalina wine mixer.
And
Pow!
as soon as I cracked that thing open in my mouth with my teeth, I was like, oh gosh, that's hot.
Yes,
and I love hot stuff. So
That's all you got.
That-
Oh gosh,
That's
did-
hot.
but I did. And it's funny because Brandon says he always knows by my reaction if something's hot or not. Because
Yeah.
even though I'm very straight faced, I'll sit there and I'm like, oh yeah, that's hot.
Well, I know,
Yeah, you
if
did.
it's-
I was like-
if it's freaking hot
it
for
was
Keith,
crippling.
then
to
no.
me.
Yeah, I know I'm not
Sean's
even.
I was
over
like-
there in the fetal position.
I was in. It had me I just wanted to be held. by somebody.
Just for future
It was so
notice for
freaking hot.
fans, I have some Carolina Reapers growing in
Oh
my garden.
gosh, you're teasing it. You got to
And
commit to it
They're
now.
they're almost fully grown now. They just need to ripen. So I'm here in either a week or two. And Sean said he'd do it with me.
I'll
so
do
we'll
it.
You got to
see.
do it.
We're gonna. I'm not gonna eat a whole pepper.
We're
'cause
gonna
I
have to
don't-
have milk.
I don't want to die.
I'll have milk. I can get a gallon.
Well, because they're hotter
2%,
than the
please.
actual. We talked about doing the chip.
Skim.
Yes.
I don't want water.
I'll buy
White
whole.
water.
Oh, we were gonna do the
I'll
chip.
buy whole
Yeah.
just because whole actually is supposed to help the best because it rinses
It's the
oil
greater
stuff.
thickness. That makes sense.
Yeah,
Mm.
but yeah, we were gonna do that packy chip, but actual Carolina Reaper's hotter than that chip because that chip's not as hot as the pure pepper. That's why I'm not.
Oh
gonna
my
eat, yeah,
gosh.
I'm not gonna eat a
Man.
whole pepper,
Dude, I don't feel safe doing
This
on
little
the
pepper
air.
that we ate tonight was
Yeah.
about the size. It was smaller than a marble. It was about the size of a pea.
It
Yeah.
was about the size
I
of
mean,
a
really.
pearl.
I looked at it,
It
and I
was
was
the
just like,
size of a pearl.
That's what I'm. That's it.
It got you.
And it. Oh,
And that's
God.
probably that same size is probably all I'm gonna do to bite off that pepper. I'm not gonna
Right.
eat a whole Carolina
Carolina
Reaper
Reaper.
because I don't want that, but I am gonna see how hot it is.
So really, I mean, I'm
You
I'm
can
just,
eat one without dying, but people have had like.
Well,
they
I know I couldn't.
They
It
have
was
had
worse
adverse
on my
health
lips.
issues. From,
Once
from
I
doing
licked
it.
my lips after I ate it, which was a huge mistake,
That's
when it did it. Because as soon as I licked my lips, like my lips felt like they were swelling to the point of bursting, even though they really weren't. It just felt like that. Like I feel my heartbeat in my freaking lips.
See, that's what
Like, it
scares
was-
me.
Oh my god!
I know. I'm such a pansy that I know if
Yeah.
I ate something that hot, like I said, it was that devil's spit or whatever devil's
I think it was Devil's Blood.
devil's blood.
barked
I
Satan's
took
blood or
I took
something,
one little drop of it, and I'm telling you, I could not breathe for a half
here's the
hour.
thing.
I was just
I did a drop on my thing. I was like, oh, yeah, it's good. And then I put it on my food. This was at Jacob's 4th of July party last year, not this past year.
yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did a little drop. I was like, oh, that is hot. And I put it on my food and was eating it. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. So Brandon kind of thought, based on my reaction, that it really wasn't that bad. And I lied and said it's not that bad.
Maybe when you're
Yeah, he
mixing
did.
it
See,
with
he
some
was
food
cruel.
or something.
I was cruel. I wanted to see Brandon's reaction. So I was like, yeah, it's not that bad.
See, no, you know what I'm gonna do now to up the game? You got to eat this Reaper, you two.
Yeah.
But you got to do it, and then you're gonna wear some masks with it. Okay.
No.
You're gonna put a mask
Oh,
on.
gosh.
And have to
You'd probably
breathe
die, yeah.
through the mask.
That would kill me. I'd
Yeah,
be
you
like
know what?
hyperventilating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna step up the game.
I'm going to get a seed out of that pepper and hide it in something of yours.
Screw
And you're
you.
never-
I'm gonna die, and you're gonna come in to do the podcast
Is
one
that
week.
re-
and I'm
is
gonna
that
be
what
dead.
is that what does it? Is the seeds or the oil, like the oils and
It's also
juices
the
inside?
people say the seeds are the high spot, but it's really
See,
it
I felt
really
like
is
it was
the oil.
because
it
it
is.
just can't get it off.
It
Like
is-
I wiped, I licked, I put my lips in my Mountain Dew. Like I was soaking my lips in my drink.
It's
and
a
it never
common
would go away.
misconception that it's the seed, but it's really not the seed.
I'm guessing a
it's the
carbonated
oil and
beverage
the,
is not gonna
Because
help,
you can, if you
know.
touch them and
Yeah.
then wipe your eyes an hour later,
can-
you can burn your freaking
Well,
eyes
people
out.
have like really hurt their eyes, like touching like a Carolina Reaper, and then like if you touch your eye
So
after
we need to
that,
wear
like, you
rubber
can blind
gloves,
yourself.
too.
Yeah, we
Yes.
probably should.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
just because like
See, we're doing all the code. I mean, we're literally getting ready for COVID,
Yeah.
so we can eat a pepper, not to be weary of the
it's like,
the
we're gonna
virus.
wear
going
gloves
around.
because I don't want to like get Carolina Reaper in my eye and go blind.
Yeah.
But I will say that look, I do think it is a guy thing of the so-called pushing
I'm not
the limits.
saying women don't ever do stupid stuff,
No,
but
of
they definitely
course,
don't do it as much as
They just
men.
they
Yeah.
don't willingly do it.
I mean, we've
just
we've
like-
driven
we kinda
around
peer
and
pressure them
shot
into it.
potato guns at stuff. Like,
Yes.
it's just like stuff that would get us arrested in a minute. We've
Yep.
done, and I'm like, I look back on it now. I'm like, why did we do that?
'Cause
But
we were
I mean, it was
stupid.
funny, and I laugh about it
Yeah.
still about all the stupid crap that we've
But
done.
do y'all have
but-
any kind of specific instance of like you just knew, like, and it could be anything because we're talking about kind of stunts. But even for me, it was like, this just sounds so juvenile and so innocent. It makes me look terrible. Like, ooh, wow, you're such a baddie. It's like, but I remember just breaking, like, if I broke my curfew or something, and it was like when you're pushing the limit and like knowing. You're riding that like, oh no, if
Like you
my
got the
parents
Fonz
do
on the
find
Harley
out,
over
Yeah.
here,
that's right.
staying up past 10 o'clock.
Woo!
Yeah.
Telling you. But it's like, what in that regard has been like an instance where you knew, like, you were pushing the limit and you probably
Push
shouldn't
it to
have.
the limit.
Do y'all have any instance like that?
Trying to I know I have to have had, but
I
I
mean,
just can't.
'cause
think
we're-
of
I mean,
any
we're
off the top of
talking
my
about
head.
I can think of
peppers
one, but
and-
I can't talk about it.
Oh.
Like, I mean, I've got one that I would say I'm pretty ashamed of, but I'm
man.
not gonna talk about it on
So
here.
you pushed it too far.
Ooh.
Just tease it. Just tease
Just
it.
tease it.
It's
Yeah.
something personal. It's something very
Hey,
personal.
There's personal things,
Yeah.
I just think it's
and there's
that's-
public things.
we're going to talk about it after the show.
Yeah, baby.
We need an after hours. No,
Hidden camera.
But y'all don't have any specific.
I mean,
y'all can
I-
think of.
Again, if you go back to like you're saying something other than a stunt, that's the only things I can really think
That's
of.
fine.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Because I
fine.
remember like when I went skydiving on my 18th birthday,
Yeah.
and I remember like I was hyped, I was ready to go. You go through about 6 hours of training before they let you do it. So you spend all day there training, learning about the parachute, learning how to fall, all this stuff, watching video after video, signing your life away.
Yeah.
And then you finally get up there, and I'm flying in the plane. I'm thinking this is the coolest freaking thing ever, until the dude opens the damn door.
Yeah.
And you look down, and he says, "If you don't get out on the wing of the plane and let go, I'm pushing you." And then
Oh my
that's when
gosh.
I was just kind of like, maybe I went too far this time because I could literally die.
Yeah.
Easily die
Yeah.
doing this. And it was like then I mustered up the courage to get out on the wing of the plane and hold on, and you're just letting your feet dangle behind you.
That's so creepy.
And then he's giving you the signal to let go, and I'm just like, no, I'm not letting go.
Oh, wow.
And so finally he just said, I'm coming out there if you don't let go. So finally I closed my eyes. I said that, God, if this is it, take me, please.
Okay, I've heard.
And went and let go and just went back. And I mean, I
you're still
screamed,
here.
and I'm still here. And once the chute came out and I was steering it, it was the coolest freaking thing I've ever experienced. But there was that moment when I was up there and I just said, I've went way too far. Like, this is just stupid. I should have never done this.
So wait, hold on. I mean, because I've heard of in tandem, like where they jump out with you.
Yeah, I didn't.
And
do
then
that.
I also heard that it's like there's the other one where you can go up even higher. You free fall fast, or no, in tandem's where you free fall. It's from I think a larger height.
In tandem is with someone connected to you,
right? But you go up,
and you can
it's
free
a
fall
higher
doing
height.
that. Yeah, you go higher,
right? But it's like I
Yeah.
know that with
I did static line, which is you jump out of the plane and there's a cord connected to you.
And
that
as soon
once
as you let go,
once you get
it
far enough away from the
launches.
plane,
Yeah.
it pulls your chute for you.
Okay.
See, that's probably what I would do because I wouldn't trust myself to pull the cord at the right
I didn't
height.
get to pull the cord.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why they do it in tandem is because
Yeah.
you're not pulling the
Yeah.
cord; they are.
Yeah.
And so it's like, but it is kind of cool because it's like you free fall for like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I got
And it
about,
doesn't seem
yeah, I
like
got
a
about
long time, but
5 or 6 seconds, and then I was pulling. I mean, it was 8,000 feet in the air. So
Oh my gosh! man.
it's like, oh god.
I don't think I could do it.
that is pushing the limits. That's some.
And my
fun-
dad went out before me. So
Oh,
after he
you
went
had
out
to.
and I saw that his chute came out and he was floating down fine, I still had that feeling like, man, I should never have
done this.
asked to do this on my birthday. Like, I should have never done this. Is too much. It's too far. It's
That by far set the bar because I don't have anything that.
I've never jumped
Drastic.
out of a plane.
I
But
haven't-
you've probably done other things that would have
I've
easily
done-
got you killed. Come
yes,
on.
no,
I know
that's
you
true.
have.
That's
I
true.
know, and that's the thing.
But you knowingly or willingly did it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Mine, and it's funny because I can or do you have a specific instance?
No, I'm trying. I'm really like, and I don't know why I'm drawing a blank because I know I've had to have done something.
Because I know that I
Just never
when
jump
you,
out
when you
of a
put it
plane.
that way, I've done some stupid
Oh,
stunts.
yeah, yeah.
Whether it was like I remember they were coming through one time on our street putting in.
I mean, riding to Boston with Brandon, like that was
98 miles an hour.
It's like I want to go fast. I like Sonic.
that might have been the most life-risking thing I've ever done. Now,
No, but I remember they came through on our streets and they were putting in sewers, and so they had everybody's yard was dug up down the street, and we went through and made mounds so that we could jump bikes. And I remember sometimes it was like the craziest, ridiculous mounds for like an 11, 12-year-old.
Yeah.
But when you're hopping these things and you don't realize how hard you're gonna slam down, I mean I cracked my nuts on those things so many times.
I've seen people break the bike frame
Yeah.
Yeah.
doing jumps like that.
Hell yeah, and it's
if
like
it's not a bike that's meant for it. You know?
right. And I had like one of those little. It wasn't a trick bike at all.
Yeah,
it was
it's your
before
Huffy.
yeah, exactly. It was like a little
Your
Huffy.
Walmart Huffy.
Yeah, that's right. It was. And so like I'm sitting there jumping these things, and I'm telling you, there was another time too. I remember I had a mountain bike this time. Woo! But I always rode it over to my buddy Logan's when I was younger, and I just remember always doing these stupid stunts where like Logan would try to throw stuff at me while I was riding on my bike, and one time he threw a bat at me. And it went through my spokes on the back wheel, and of course that jammed my tire.
Yeah.
And if I stopped well enough before it made me just flip.
Yeah.
But I did. Like it was just like there was things like that where.
I thought of one.
Oh,
And
here we go.
You actually were there for this one. So
Oh boy.
Wasn't the gazing ball? Was it?
no, that wasn't.
That wasn't dangerous.
Because this really was a dumb thing that we were doing. It was at church camp, and it was when we were
Oh,
not
yes!
because I actually did it
Yes.
2 or 3 times and let them do
This
it to
was
me.
stupid.
We were like, and Patrick, my cousin, was actually the one that kind of introduced us to this. He's like, "This is something we did at band camp as a meditate." It's like that was not meditating. That you were just stupid.
Can
You're
I
like,
can I make one real quick disclaimer?
Yeah, don't do this at
No,
home.
no, no, no,
Yeah.
no. There are flutes that are just as much as pianos. I'll just say that to settle a disagreement.
Clarinet.
Okay.
Clarinets.
It was a clarinet.
There are clarinets.
That cost just as much as a piano.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I'll say.
They had an argument about that, but that's okay.
Patrick got pissed.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
Like, you beat my ass.
Because he said that a clarinet could cost as much as a piano, and he was like, "That's not true."
I was like, there's no way. I was like, that's bull.
Yeah.
Anyways, continue. I'm sorry.
He showed us this thing where like you kind of bend over, take 10 deep breaths, and when you come up, they basically just choked you out because you're
Yes.
already like from bending over, taking the 10 deep breaths, you're already kind of like hyperventilating, and then like he cut off your windpipe and knock you out, and you wake up in a few seconds, and we thought this was the coolest thing.
Sean's like,
No,
no,
the
stupid.
I let them do it to me like 2 or 3 times because like I don't know why, because I was stupid. But the part that I think the moment where I really realized how stupid it was is when your dad let them do it to him, and we knocked Dennis out, and he didn't, because he was older. He didn't wake up in a few seconds. I mean,
No.
he did. He wasn't out for like a whole minute, but it felt like that because of how much longer he was
It
out.
was like
did
30
not-
seconds.
I did not
Yeah.
know this.
Well,
Yeah.
here is okay.
I've never
and
heard
it
it
was
this.
like 30 seconds, and he's laying there, and I'm like, he's not waking up as fast as the rest of us did, and it freaked me out. And he did wake up, but I was like, yeah, maybe this is really stupid.
Well, and
Wow.
okay, here's
Yeah.
the crazier thing too, because I remember I did it, I think about twice.
Yeah.
And it did. There were instances where it was like you felt like you were asleep for 8 hours, and you really weren't. It was like 5 seconds, but it felt like a full night's sleep. Tristan, one of our buddies, always had an issue with sleepwalking.
Oh my God.
And there was
He
an issue.
sleptwalk.
He actually sleptwalk, and we thought
We thought he woke up.
his mom was so blown that he got up and he was just freaked out.
They knocked him
And
out,
he started
we thought,
walking.
Yeah, we thought he was freaking out because
Yeah.
he gets up and just starts like speed walking down the hallway. We're like, Tristan, are you?
And then
are
he
you
just stops and turns around and he wakes up while he's walking. And the look on his face was just like complete and utter like where am I? And like he woke up in the
Dang.
middle of his
Yeah,
sleepwalk. It
'cause-
was freaking.
And the weird thing is, like, I knew he had sleptwalk, but I never actually. Well, actually, he had done it because I remember
he
we-
did it at
Yeah.
at his house. Yeah,
He had sleptwalk, and I actually had seen him do it once before because there was a time we stayed at Derek Carpenter's house. It was me, Tristan, Neil, and Derek. And
We're
Tristan,
name dropping
Yeah.
a bunch of
Yeah.
peeps.
Yeah.
Tristan,
No last names.
Tristan started. He got up and was sleepwalking in the middle of the night, and we're like, "What's he doing?" And me and Neil and Derek were actually still up playing like Xbox or something. And Tristan's like sleepwalking, and Derek picks up this basketball and like hurls it. And hits him. He hits him straight in the gut, and he just like and wakes up and looks around. And I was like, "That was such a douche thing to do."
But no, the other thing that I thought is, and this is even crazier. So not only did your dad do it, but there was one night, I think after Bible study or something, we were all in this huge room, and of course it was the collective group at the end of the night, all the chaperones, all the kids, and we were about to depart for the night, and we as a few kids were talking about how exciting this was and like how crazy
They let
cool
us
was.
do it entirely.
They let us actually knock somebody out. 2 people, because Ty was one of them.
Yeah.
They let us knock out 2 people, and the adults stood there and watched as we did this.
Dennis, let us do it too.
Well, I know, but it's
Yeah.
just like I have no freaking
Yeah.
clue. Oh, your mic, I think, just went out.
Yeah.
I think it just cut off. Yeah.
It did cut out.
Uh-oh. Yeah, now it's back on there.
That's that
Yeah,
was
it's on
weird.
now.
Yeah,
I
there
don't know
it
if
is.
the connection
That's
just
weird.
loose. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just loose there. But no,
Huh.
it was just insane.
Not in 2020.
No. It was dumb. I would not advise that you do it.
Yeah, I'm never going
There's
to like
nothing therapeutic.
let
It's
someone choke me out
stupid.
again. But
It's stupid.
No.
Ugh.
yeah, it is not meditating
Did you
in
see
any
God?
way.
No.
Oh.
No, but
I did dream. I
was saying,
dreamed. I
yeah.
don't remember what I dreamed, but I
I
definitely
do
dreamed.
vaguely remember having like I don't know, maybe I was on a roller coaster. I don't remember. I just remember having some sense of like doing this with my hands in the air, and then
It was meditative for him.
and then
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
and then I woke up and I was like, I don't know.
It was insane, but definitely
Yeah, it was stupid.
dumb.
It
Just
sound,
dumb.
yeah, that's really stupid.
So yeah, that was our advice to say, don't push the limits too far, guys.
Yeah,
That's the moral
push
of
it
that
to
story.
the limits.
All right, guys. I want to thank everybody for joining this week.
Mm-hmm.
You know what we can do though?
What's that?
We can give out a little bit of our info,
Mm?
a little bit of love for the, for the email
Love.
folks out there. That's right. Oh gosh, I don't know what I'm doing with my buttons down here. It's been a week, okay? I've been off for a week. Woo! That's right. You can email us, everybody, at rmpodcast@redmoonproductions.com.
Where?
It's right there at the bottom of your screen, Sean. You want to look at it right
Right
there.
here?
Well,
No,
your
no,
right hand's
no.
on it.
Oh.
There it is.
There-
Ooh,
oh.
ooh, ooh. Yeah, you're in it.
He tickled
You
me.
went right
RMPodcast
through
at
it,
man.
redmoonproductions.com.
That's right. Got a little bit of that porch rocker. Sip it away. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week's episode. Oh, we got some things in the future coming. Like the peppers. That's all I was alluding to.
Some peppers.
That's definitely happening.
All right, guys. Until next time, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
and
Keith Cheatham.
so until next time, we'll see you right back here in the Red Moon Studios.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.